وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. Inshallah, because we are in the beginning of Dhul Hijjah and everyone is who's been blessed this year leaving us for Hajj, we must have met a few relatives. I remember last Saturday, I went to my sister's house, bid her farewell. Surprisingly this year, many of my relatives are going Hajj and I'm not going. Normally I've been going every year. This year, I'm not actually going. So I was thinking about that. I had organised some building work happening and so it just didn't work out, so I wasn't able to go. And then the brothers at work, many of them were leaving for Hajj as well. So it's at that time you start feeling, you know what, I'm missing out on something really huge. The rewards of the Hajj. And then you start reminiscing about your Hajj and the different times you went and the things that happened. And as anyone who has been Hajj realizes, there's nothing like the Hajj. It is the spiritual training of a lifetime. And anytime you go Hajj, all you want to do is repeat. You want to go again. You want to go again. And the heart doesn't understand exactly why. But there's a hadith in the Muslim of Imam Ahmad and others where the Prophet ﷺ tells us about the situation of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And this is the reason why we are so attached, and every single person is attached to Al-Kaaba. So the Prophet ﷺ says that when Ibrahim alayhi salam finished, لما فرغ إبراهيم عليه السلام من بناء الكعبة, when he finished building Al-Kaaba, then he was told by Allah, أذن في الناس بالحج, announce, proclaim to the people to come for Hajj. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, you imagine, what was there at that time when Ibrahim alayhi salam built Al-Kaaba? What was there? Nothing. It was desert. Very few people around, hardly anyone around. It's very, very small community. Okay, very, very small community. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, hearing the order, proclaimed to the people, and nas, the whole of mankind, al-Hajj. So Ibrahim alayhi salam asked the obvious question. What's the obvious question? Who should I call? Not quite. Who?
How?
How? Yeah, how is my voice going to travel to all of the people? Because Allah's order is call all of the people for Hajj. That's the order. All of the people without exception. So Ibrahim alayhi salam said, and how far is my voice going to travel? Allah then responds to Ibrahim alayhi salam and he says, upon you is the call and we will make it reach everyone. Then the hadith continues, and then Ibrahim alayhi salam proclaimed the call for Hajj and everything. Man fi as-sama'i wal ard heard Ibrahim alayhi salam's proclamation for Hajj. Everything between the heavens and the earth heard the call of Ibrahim alayhi salam, not because of Ibrahim alayhi salam's voice, but Allah wanted it to reach that. It's as if our hearts, the hearts of all the believers, have heard this call, even though your ears can't hear it. It's as if your hearts have heard it. That's why they are drawn to Al-Kaaba like a magnet. And you appreciate it when you actually go for Hajj. Now, when you see the people leaving for Hajj, you automatically must think and recollect and try to find out, how did the Prophet ﷺ's journey begin for Hajj? Because these are the days of Hajj. These are the greatest days in the whole year that we are actually living right now. Ramadan, the nights of Ramadan are the greatest nights of the whole year. But the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, this month, the days of Hajj, these are the greatest days of the year. That's why the Prophet ﷺ, he said, there are no days, al-amalu salihu fiha, that the good actions in them are more beloved to Allah than these days. Okay, so the days, the scholars when they talk about this, these days, the days starting from Fajr until Maghrib, there are no better days in the whole year than these. And then, which day from amongst these first 10 days is the greatest of all the 10? Ninth, okay. We've got one opinion says 9. Anyone else? want someone to disagree.
So day of Arafah, so...
Day of Arafah is 9. So you agree with Sheikh over here. I want someone to disagree.
Did you say day or days?
Day, which is the greatest day of the 10.
Yawm
Yawm al-Eid. Okay. So now we've got two opinions here. And these are the opinions of the scholars. Okay. Which one of these two is the greatest day? Yawm Arafah or the day of Eid? Okay. These are the two opinions of the scholars. These are the two greatest days of the year, without any contesting. Yeah, this is the case. One of these two is the greatest day, from Fajr until Maghrib, of the year. Okay, so, Sheikh, you said day of Arafah. Why is it the greatest day?
Yawm Arafah. The peak of the Hajj is the Yawm Arafah.
Right, the peak of the Hajj is Yawm Arafah. Okay, it is that pillar of Hajj that if you miss, that's it. There's no Hajj. Okay? As the Prophet says, Al-Hajju Arafah. The Hajj is Arafah. That pillar, if it's missed, there's no Hajj for that person. You have to be there. At least for part of the day, you have to have been in Arafah. But there's more to Arafah than that. There's more to Arafah than that. What happens in Arafah that makes it such a huge occasion? In Arafah, at that time, the people all gather in that one place. What are they doing for that whole time that they're there?
Ibadah.
Ibadah. Okay, they're doing Ibadah. But there's one specific Ibadah that is for that day. Tawbah. Okay? Dua. They pray their salahs. Which salahs do they pray? Dhuhr and Asr. They pray them in the beginning of Dhuhr time. And then they are free until Maghrib to do one thing only, which is make dua. Nothing else. Okay? So now, Allah descends at the end of Arafah, boasting to His angels about the slaves that have come. And He asks them, why have these slaves of mine come? And Allah already knows the answer, but He wants His slaves from the angels to understand. He wants His majesty to be declared. So the angels, they say they've only come to seek your forgiveness. And then Allah makes them bear witness that Allah has forgiven all of them. Now Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she adds to that, there is no day, the Prophet ﷺ is saying, there is no day that Allah frees more people from the hellfire than the day of Arafah. Okay? So if you think about this, Ramadan, what did we want from Allah? We wanted forgiveness, we wanted freeing from the hellfire. But then the Prophet ﷺ is saying there is no day in which Allah frees more people from the hellfire than on the day of Arafah. Did the Prophet ﷺ actually say in Arafah? No, he said on the day of Arafah. On the day of Arafah. He didn't say at Arafah. He said on the day of Arafah. You could be somewhere else. But Allah's forgiveness is so wide and encompasses so many and everyone, more so on that day than any other day. Now, that's one opinion. This is why they said Yawm Arafah, the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, is the greatest of these 10 days. Then the brother said the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. Why the 10th of Dhul Hijjah? Celebration. Okay, but that was ibadah and this is celebration. And the two are not equal.
Ibrahim alayhi salam gave the qurbani of his son. Attempted.
Okay, was it only Ibrahim? What do we do on the 10th?
We follow their sunnah.
Right, we follow the sunnah of qurbani. Okay? The slaughtering of the sacrificial animal on that day. If you imagine how many people are slaughtering across the world, across the globe on that same day. Okay, that's one ibadah. What else happens on the 10th of the Hijjah? What other ibadah is going on?
Special prayer.
Right, there's a special prayer, the Eid prayer, all over the world. Okay? The Hujjaj don't pray that prayer, the Eid prayer. Okay, they're busy in other ibadat. What are the ibadahs that the Hujjaj, the people making Hajj, do? Right, they do the stoning. What else do they do? Right, there's the Talbiyah that's been going on. When do we start it? When do we start it?
Fajr.
Fajr of Arafah. Fajr of the 9th of Dhul Hijjah. We'll start making the takbirat. And even now in these days, the Prophet ﷺ has advised us to make takbirat. Not after every salah like we do from the Fajr of Arafah, but we should say Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, lillahi alhamd, or other versions of this in our own time when we're free, whatever we're doing. These are the statements to be said in these days. But that will be said all across the globe in loud voices after every salah, let alone the other times. Okay, what other ibadah is going on that day?
So the Hujjaj have to do the tawaf ziyarah.
Right, Hujjaj are making tawaf of Allah's house. What else? If they're making tawaf, they're going to also make sa'i as well. Okay, what else are they doing before they go?
Shave their heads.
Right, shaving their heads. Shaving the heads, is it ibadah or not? Yes, that's an ibadah. So you had the slaughter, you had the stoning, you had the tawaf, you had the sa'i, you had the takbirat, the cutting of the hair, the shaving of the head, all of these different types of ibadah. Now, can you think of another day where so many different types of ibadah happen all on the same day in the whole year? Doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. In the multitude that it happens on the day of Eid, doesn't happen. This is why some of the scholars said the 10th of Dhul Hijjah is the greatest day of the whole year, because no day has so much ibadah occurring here of different types, and some of those types do not become ibadah except on the 10th. Think about cutting their hair. Think about stoning.
The same thing can happen on the 11th and 12th as well. You can do Qurbani 11th, 12th. You can do the Prophet Ziyarah on that day, the Sa'i and the So it's not just the 10, it's 10, 11 and 12.
Yeah, 10, 11, 12. 10, 11, 12 and the 13th are all days of Eid. Yeah, they're all days of Eid. The Prophet ﷺ said, these are the days of Eid for us, Ahl al-Islam, the people of Islam. Yeah, all of these days are Eid. But the 10th itself, because you have the Hajj of Ziyarah, okay, which the Prophet ﷺ did on the 10th, and all of these actions are greater if you do them on the 10th, because who did them on the 10th? The Prophet ﷺ. Okay, so that's why, especially those who are keen to follow the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ as closely as possible, they try to do all of these actions on the 10th, just like the Prophet ﷺ did. Okay, now when you think about this, let us begin our journey with the Prophet ﷺ in Hajj. Okay, I want you to imagine this situation, going to Hajj with the Prophet ﷺ. Because the way it's explained by the hadith of Jabir, famous long hadith in Sahih Muslim, this is where all the details of the Prophet ﷺ making Hajj are found all in one long narration. And then there are additions from other hadith. So the Prophet ﷺ, the first thing, when we notice about this particular narration, prior to this, just imagine, the Prophet ﷺ, he's been around in Medina for 9 years. Okay? This is what Jabir radiallahu ta'ala anhu says. He says, the Prophet ﷺ stayed in Medina for 9 years not making Hajj. That's the 10th year, and he announces that I'm going to make Hajj. And he also announces, خُذُوا عَنِّي مَنَاسِكَكُمْ, that take from me your rites of Hajj. Now just imagine you hear the Prophet ﷺ is making Hajj. What would you want to do? You join him, that's it. There would be nothing more beloved to you than join him. Just imagine, people used to leave their families and leave their households and leave their businesses just to come and pray behind the Prophet ﷺ. And this is the opportunity of a lifetime, because the Prophet ﷺ is now going to make Hajj. And then he announces also that perhaps I'm not going to make Hajj ever again with you. I'm not going to be with you anymore after this. So this might be the only opportunity, and the Sahaba, they hear about this. So now, they all come and attend. Everyone comes and attends. There's no one left. And Jabir radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he says, right, all of them, they come for Hajj. All of these people, they gather around in Medina, they come to Medina, and the only thing they want is to be led by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then he also adds, وَيَعْمَلُ مِثْلَ عَمَلِهِ, and to do exactly what he did. There's nothing else they want to do. He's already said, خُذُوا عَنِّي مَنَاسِكَكُمْ, take from me your rites of Hajj. They don't know how to worship Allah except through the Prophet ﷺ. And they've all come. Now the Prophet ﷺ, he wasn't able to make Hajj until this point. Do you know why he wasn't able to make Hajj until this final year of his life?
He went for Hajj, intention of the Hajj a year before that, but then he returned from Mecca.
So the Prophet ﷺ did not make Hajj apart from this Hajj.
Yeah.
Okay? Previously, mushrikeen were making tawaf around the house of Allah. In fact, they would make tawaf naked as well. Okay? There were idols still in the Kaaba. So this is why the Prophet ﷺ didn't go himself to make Hajj. So now everything's been cleared. The year before, it's been announced, all of these things have to be taken away, and these are the rules for Hajj. So now the Prophet ﷺ has set the scene for himself to go Hajj, and he has announced it, and everyone's come. Now the Prophet ﷺ, he goes to the miqat. What's the miqat for the people of Medina? Excellent, Dhul Hijjah. Yeah? This is the place where the people start their Hajj from. So the Prophet ﷺ goes to Dhul Hijjah, and everyone's watching the Prophet ﷺ. He gets there, and this is where the ihram is going to start. What is ihram?
It's a special clothing for the
State of being.
See?
It's a state.
Sheikh over here said it's clothing. And the Sheikh over here, he said, no, it's a state. Okay? Many people, if you look at the Hujjaj, they will go and they will have their, especially those going from Medina, yeah? A lot of my friends, they're in Medina right now, waiting for maybe a day before 6th or 7th Dhul Hijjah, they'll leave from Medina to go to Mecca. Yeah? So then when they get to Mecca, they'll make their Umrah, then they'll go into their hotels or their places in Aziziyah, and they'll wait there. So many of them, from their hotel in Medina, they get into the clothing of Ihram. Are they in Ihram yet? No. Because they will make the niyyah, the intention of going into Ihram, when they get to Dhul Hijjah, the place where the Prophet ﷺ started. Now, a person who went into the state of Ihram at the Prophet's mosque, would that be a good thing or a bad thing?
Not desirable.
Not desirable. Why not desirable?
practice of Prophet.
Good. It's not the practice of the Prophet ﷺ. Maybe a person might think, you know what? I can go into this state and do one better than the Prophet ﷺ. Because he delayed it until he got to Dhul Hijjah, which is, you can say, a drive about 20 minutes, 25 minutes from Masjid Nabawi. But this would be greatly problematic. How can you do something better than the Prophet ﷺ? It's not possible. The Prophet ﷺ is the one who taught us how to worship Allah the best. So now the Prophet ﷺ, he took everyone with him and he gets to Dhul Hijjah. And then the Prophet ﷺ at that time, he has perfumed himself, his body, not his clothing, himself. Okay? And he's at Dhul Hijjah. And he prayed a salah. We don't know what salah it was. Was it the salah of 2 rak'ah after the wudu? Was it a fard salah that it was time for? Was it the sunnah of entering a masjid? We don't know what salah it was. Okay? There's no specific salah mentioned for the ihram itself, but the Prophet ﷺ did pray a salah, and then he made the intention of ihram. Okay, so he's gone into his ihram state. Now what's different about your ihram state than your normal day-to-day life? Right, there's restrictions. So things that were halal for you have now become haram. Things that are normally halal become haram. What are those things? Okay, first thing you mentioned, Sheikh, the masjid as well. Right, so what's the basic things?
Clipping nails, shaving.
Right, clipping nails, shaving, cutting hair. What about perfume?
Perfume.
Right, perfume's not allowed as well.
Insects, killing insects. Or
Yeah, killing these things, creatures, things like that, not allowed for you in the harams.
covering your head.
Covering your head for the men is not allowed. Okay, the men have a specific clothing. Yeah, what kind of clothing is it?
Unsewn, unstitched.
Unstitched. So it's not like this, where the garment is shaped around the body. So it's something that is like the 2 sheets that we see. Yeah? So they have that clothing on them. And then they've gone into this state. They make that intention. Oh Allah, here I am for you for Hajj or for Umrah, depending on the type of Hajj they're making. Let's say they're mutamatti, like most people, they go from here, they make Umrah, and then they do Hajj. Okay, so now, the Prophet ﷺ, however, he had his sacrificial animals with him. So the Prophet ﷺ at that time, as Aisha says, at that time, we knew nothing about Umrah. لا نعرف العمرة. She says, we did not know about Umrah. All we did was, we made the talbiyah for Hajj. لبيك اللهم حجا. We're here for Hajj. Oh Allah, here I am for Hajj. So the Prophet ﷺ has made that statement as well. Then the Prophet ﷺ goes on his camel, al-Qaswa, and he mounts the camel, and he's in the direction of the journey, and then he starts saying the talbiyah. لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك. Jabir radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he says, I looked on the right of the Prophet ﷺ, and as far as the eye could see, I saw people. I looked on the left of the Prophet ﷺ, and all I could see until the distance of the eye was people. I looked behind the Prophet ﷺ, the same. I saw in front of the Prophet ﷺ, people everywhere. The Prophet ﷺ setting off like this, and what did every single one of those people want to do? Nothing except copy the Prophet ﷺ exactly. Now, did they question the Prophet ﷺ? Not a single question. Not a single why. They didn't even ask how. They were just watching whatever the Prophet ﷺ did, they were going to enact it and follow it. Now, when you think about this beginning of the Hajj, the people, they leave from here. Okay, what do they take with them? What do people take with them to Hajj? Right, clothing, some clothes. What else? Toiletries, necessities, things that they need. Right, the Prophet ﷺ, same thing. Small provisions, nothing else. Very small. Then these 2 simple sheets to cover. And they bid farewell to their luxuries that they enjoyed. They bid farewell to their friends, their families. They can't take them with them. Now think about life. This is the journey of a lifetime, and it is the journey that reminds you of the journey that we are all living. You can't take everything with you. The things that you're going to take with you are very, very minimal. These things are not going to go with you at all. They're going to be left behind. That's our life. What are you going to take with you? Al-amal. Your good actions, that's it. You're going to bid farewell to your family. You're going to bid farewell to your wealth. You're going to bid farewell to your luxuries and everything. The only thing that's going to go with you are your good deeds that you multiply as much as you can, especially in these days. So now the Prophet ﷺ set off to Mecca. What is he saying all the way? Talbiyah, nothing else. He's saying Talbiyah. And the people are saying Talbiyah. Different to the mushrikeen's Talbiyah, because they used to say, instead of Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik, Labbaik la sharika laka Labbaik, this part they used to change. They used to say, there is a partner you have, that you have made for yourself, and you own that partner. Then the Prophet ﷺ also told us, what's the best Hajj? He said, the Hajj that has al-ajju wal-thajj. Lots and loud talbiyah for the men. The Hajj that has the loud talbiyah and frequent talbiyah all the time throughout the journey of the Hajj, that is the best Hajj. And the one that has the most sacrificial animals. Now the Prophet ﷺ, in the end, he ended up having, does anyone know how many sacrificial animals he had to be slaughtered?
100.
In the end, 100. Okay, anyone know how many he did with his own hand?
63.
Excellent. 63 animals the Prophet ﷺ sacrificed on the day of Eid himself with his blessed hand. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And who did the remainder? Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Yeah, he brought the rest from Yemen. He was coming from Yemen with them, and he brought them. Now, the Prophet ﷺ is on this journey, and Ali is coming from Yemen. Okay, he doesn't know what the Prophet ﷺ is doing, and he's made his talbiyah. He said his niyyah is, "Oh Allah, I'm making the same niyyah as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam." Then he set off. Now the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he reaches Mecca. Okay, he's reached Mecca. We have no indication of the process of changing any of his statements except for saying the talbiyah all the way to the end. Now he's got to Al-Kaaba. Where does the Prophet ﷺ go? The Black Stone. Okay, that's where you begin your tawaf. Right, so the Prophet ﷺ goes to the Black Stone. He kisses the Black Stone. Okay? Right, so say if you can't kiss the Black Stone, what do? Okay, if you can touch it and then you kiss your hand. If you have a stick, you touch it with the stick and then you kiss the stick. Now why do we do this? Follow?
Sunnah.
Excellent. Okay, follow the sunnah. I was waiting for different answers here. But straight away we have the answer, follow the sunnah of the Prophet. We all know the famous narration of Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, who says to the Black Stone, he's speaking to the Black Stone. He says, "O stone, I know you don't benefit or harm. And if it hadn't been for the fact that I saw the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam kiss you, I would not have kissed you." Remember, right at the beginning, all of them, they had come to see what the Prophet ﷺ does and do exactly what he does. So the Prophet ﷺ kissed the Black Stone. Then he starts his tawaf. Now, when we start our tawaf, we say Bismillah wallahu akbar. Yeah, this is from the narration of Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Although specifically, it's not from the Prophet ﷺ, but it's taken from Abdullah ibn Umar, and other scholars add longer versions to say, but there's this statement that is said, and then you begin your tawaf. Right. What's special about the first 3 circuits for the men?
Ramla.
Ramal. What is Ramal?
Hurriedly.
Right, so you walk quickly. And also,
You cover your shoulder.
uncover the right shoulder. Yeah? But uncovering the right shoulder is for all. Okay, this is tawaf al-qudum. So this is what the Prophet ﷺ had ordered the companions to do. The mushrikeen were sitting there. What were they saying about the Muslims who had been to Medina, had left Mecca, migrated, had been staying in Medina? Anyone know?
Weak.
They were saying they were weak. Why were they weak?
The travel.
The travel? No. Yathrib, as it was called then, Al-Medina, was known for fever. Okay, when some of the companions migrated first and they went to Al-Medina, they became very, very sick. Okay, even Abu Bakar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, some of them would say poetry expressing the pain that they were going through as well. So it's very difficult when they moved from Mecca to Medina, very different. And they suffered a lot because of the atmosphere, because of the illnesses they got. So the mushrikeen were saying, these people, the people of Muhammad, they're coming and they're going to be very weak because the fever of Medina has weakened them so much. So the Prophet ﷺ told them, make this ramal, make this ramal when you go round Al-Kaaba the first 3 circuits. And they were sitting around the Hijr side. So when they got to the last face of the Kaaba, between the Yemeni corner and the Black Stone, the Prophet ﷺ let them relax. But the other side, they were going in this ramal form, which shows a lot of strength and speed. So when the mushrikeen saw this, they said, these guys, they're not being weakened by the fever. These guys are stronger than such and such and such and such. So they ended up being in awe of the Muslims. So now they're making tawaf. They complete their 7 circuits of tawaf. The Prophet ﷺ then heads over to Maqam Ibrahim. He goes to Maqam Ibrahim and he prays 2 rakah. Okay, the 2 rakah he prays there, what does the Prophet ﷺ read? In the first rakah and the second rakah?
Surah Al-Kafirun.
Right, Surah Al-Kafirun and Surah Al-Ikhlas. Now if you look, what is the meaning of the Hajj? Right, you had Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik. Oh Allah, here I am, here I am. لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك. Here I am at your service alone, you have no partner. Then you have the statements إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك. All praise, all bounties and grace, all dominion, sovereignty belongs to you, Allah. These statements, magnifying Allah, exalting Allah, venerating Allah, there's nothing else about it except this. Then you go to the Kaaba. Why do we go around the Kaaba 7 times? Why is it 7, not 8, or 6, or 5, or 4? Why is it 7? No one asked that question. There's a stone here that you kiss. A stone. A stone. This is the house of Allah, you're going around. Then you go behind this other stone and you pray behind it. All of this, why? Because this is what Allah wants. At the beginning of the Hajj you say, oh Allah, here I am at your service. You know, you say to Allah, I'm the slave and you are the master, and I'm going to do whatever you want, no matter what. My head is bowed to you for the whole of my life. This is what you're saying to Allah right at the beginning of the Hajj. Now, Suratul Ikhlas and Suratul Kafirun. Suratul Ikhlas is only about one thing. What's it about? Allah. It's not about anything else. Who Allah is. That's what Suratul Ikhlas is. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. He's one. Allahu Samad. He doesn't need anything and everything needs him. He's free of any wants. He's the rich, the free of everything, the strong, the mighty, the majestic. لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ. Yani he has no family. He has no parents and no children. This is Allah. He has no beginning, no end. He will never die. Because this is why things, species need parents and children so they continue. Allah's not like this. He's ever living. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. He's uncomparable, unmatched, supreme. All about Allah, nothing else. Then, Suratul Kafirun, what is dictated in your life because you believe in Allah? I'm different. I am different. Because Allah wants me to be different. I am going to give priority to Allah over everything else, no matter what others think. You know, they offered the Prophet ﷺ the world to give up La ilaha illallah, and Allah responded to their deal that they offered the Prophet ﷺ with قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ was doing right at the beginning of the Hajj. He prayed 2 rakah behind Maqam Ibrahim. Now what did the Prophet ﷺ do, as reported in the hadith of Jabir, after he had prayed the 2 rakah? That's what we do. We go to Zamzam. But the Prophet ﷺ, after he finished the 2 rakah, he went back to the black stone. He went back to the black stone, kissed the black stone again, and then made his way towards Safa and Marwa, taking the Zamzam before getting to Safa and Marwa. Okay? So this is something, nowadays, can you do this? Can you get to the black stone? Yeah, it's very, very difficult, especially in Hajj time now, and it's almost impossible. Yeah, to get to the black stone, what do you have to do? Fight. You have to fight. Literally, you have to fight. Okay? If you want to get to the black stone, you have to fight. And you see people, they knock others senseless. Okay? This is what happens. Not something that you're meant to do. The Prophet ﷺ completely forbade harming another Muslim, especially in Hajj, and especially when he turned to Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he advised him, he said to him, you know what, you specifically, take it easy. Remember, you're a big guy. You can knock all these people out, but that is not a Hajj. Okay? Right, so this, you're not meant to even engage in dispute, let alone fighting. But this is what people end up doing. So now, the Prophet ﷺ has done this, and then he heads over to where? Safa. He stands on Safa, okay, on Mount Safa, and then what does he say? He reads the ayat, إِنَّ الصَّفَا وَالْمَرْوَةَ مِنْ شَعَائِرِ اللَّهِ, that Safa and Marwa are from the signs and symbols of Allah. And on top of that, he says, أَبْدَأُ بِمَا بَدَأَ اللَّهُ بِهِ. He says, I begin with that which Allah began. Then he makes the statements again, venerating Allah. This is all of Hajj. This is what it's about. This is the greatest dua that the Prophet ﷺ tells us that can be made on the day of Arafah or in any other time. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير. The greatest dua. Did you ask for anything in this dua? You didn't ask for a single thing. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. There is none worthy of worship except Allah without partner. That's how it begins. You're just stating facts about Allah. And this is the greatest of du'as, yes, because this is what Allah wants in the whole of the Hajj. You to understand you're the slave and you do as you're told, no matter what Allah tells you. The Prophet ﷺ then, he makes other du'as and he mentions how Allah anjaza wa'da, that Allah is the one who has fulfilled his promise. And he is the one, وَنَصَرَ عَبْدَهُ, and he is the one who gave victory to his slave Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وَهَزَمَ الْأَحْزَابَ وَحْدَهُ, and he is the one who destroyed all of the armies, the Confederates. Just imagine, they came to the Prophet ﷺ just before this, very recent. They all gathered against the Prophet ﷺ, and they all besieged Medina. They were surrounding Medina, to the point the companions were so scared that no one was willing to go to the other side just to get information on what's going on. And within a few is months, a year's time, the Prophet ﷺ has conquered Mecca, everyone's entered Islam, and now he's come with a multitude of people, the likes that have never been seen, to make Hajj, and he's the leader. So the Prophet ﷺ says, "Oh Allah, you did this, not only you did this alone, wahda." He's declaring his gratitude to Allah, nothing else. He doesn't say anything is from me. He said all of it's from you. Then he makes dua, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Abu Hurairah narrates that the Prophet ﷺ raised his hands facing the Qibla on Safa, and he made his du'as 3 times. He repeated it all 3. Then the Prophet ﷺ came down from Safa and he went towards Marwa, going quickly between now where you see the green lights and going to Marwa and doing the same thing. Right, the Prophet ﷺ, after standing on Safa, he made dua. After standing on Marwa, he makes dua. So now, how many times did the Prophet ﷺ go between Safa and Marwa? How many?
That was twice.
That was twice, right. So you had one journey from Safa to Marwa is 1. From Marwa to Safa is 2. How many do you have to do? 7. So where do you finish? Marwa. Right. At Marwa, when the Prophet ﷺ finishes, does he now make dua? No. Okay? This is something you find all throughout the Hajj. At the last bit, you don't make dua. Like, when the Prophet ﷺ is going around making tawaf, he's making dua. When we start, we say Bismillahi Wallahu Akbar. When we finish, we don't say anything, we just go straight to Maqam Ibrahim. Likewise, Marwa finish, you go. Right, the Prophet ﷺ now, he's finished his sa'i. Then the Prophet ﷺ, what does he have to do next? Right, if you are going from here, the mutamatti', he makes umrah. But at that point, the Prophet ﷺ has taken his sacrificial animals. So the Prophet ﷺ tells the people, if I had the opportunity to do it again, I would not have brought my sacrificial animals with me. I want all of you guys to come out of your ihram by shaving your hair or cutting your hair, and then you will dress normally and you will be out of ihram until the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. And then you will go back into ihram from where you are in Makkah. And then we will make our way into Mina. But the Prophet ﷺ, he couldn't do that because he had brought his sacrificial animals. And the Sahaba who had brought their sacrificial animals with them, they were told to do the same thing as the Prophet ﷺ, stay in ihram. Okay, so there's different types. So the Prophet ﷺ now was doing it like this. So now Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he comes. And who's his wife? Fatima radiallahu anha, the daughter of the Prophet ﷺ. He enters upon his wife and he finds she's not in ihram. She's wearing the kuhl in her eyes as well. and she's not in ihram. He gets upset with her. He's just come from Yemen, he's brought the sacrificial animals. He's thinking, you came for Hajj, you should be in ihram. What's going on? He gets very upset with her. He says to her, what are you doing? She says, I'm doing what I was ordered by my father, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ali radiallahu anhu, what do you think he does next? Calms down? No, he's still upset. Oh, he's still upset, okay? Right, he goes straight to the Prophet. You need to check this out now. Yeah? And you remember, Ali radiallahu anhu is not only a warrior, but he is the greatest qadi of the ummah. Okay? Like you hear in the Jummah khutbah, أقضاهم Ali radiallahu anhu. Yeah, the greatest in judgment, yeah, judging in affairs, is Ali radiallahu anhu. He's a judge. Right, so he's heard someone make a statement. Yes, it's Fatima. He doesn't doubt her honesty, but he needs to verify it. So he goes straight to the Prophet ﷺ, and he says, this is what I found Fatima. What's going on? Prophet ﷺ says to him, Sadaqat, sadaqat. He affirms clearly what Fatima has said to him. He says, she told the truth, she told the truth. And then the Prophet ﷺ deals with Ali. He says, right, what did you say when you were coming in your, making your talbiyah, your intention for Hajj? What did you say? Who remembers what I said, Ali said?
Intention of the Prophet.
Right, he said, I made the intention, my intention is the same as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So now Ali radiallahu anh has brought the sacrificial animals with him. So the Prophet ﷺ tells him, you must stay in ihram just like me. You must stay in ihram just like me. So they've come at the beginning of Dhul Hijjah. Okay, they're in the beginning. And they will stay in ihram. So some people, if you watch, even now, some of the live broadcasts, what's going on in Mecca, etc., etc., you will see people in ihram already. They've come just making Hajj. So they have to stay in ihram all the way until the 10th, when they do the cutting of the hair and the slaughter. Then they can come out of ihram. Until that time, they'll still be in ihram. Others will be like the other companions that the Prophet ﷺ ordered, take off your ihrams because you've made your umrah now, cut your hair, come out of ihram and go back into it on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. So now the Prophet ﷺ has done that and stayed in ihram on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. What's special about the 8th of Dhul Hijjah? What's special about the 8th? You go to Mina. Okay, Yawm al-Tarwiyah, the Hajj actually starts. The 8th is when the Hajj actually starts. Now the 8th, what time did the Prophet ﷺ set off and get into Mina? After Fajr? No.
After sun.
After sunrise? No. Mina is a short distance from Mecca.
Before Maghrib.
Right, before Maghrib. Yeah, before Maghrib, but earlier than that. Right, so the Prophet ﷺ, just imagine, Mecca, is there any place better than Mecca? Is there any place better than Mecca?
No.
No, there's no place better than Mecca. It's the greatest place to pray your salawat. It's the greatest place to be in. It is the most beloved place on the earth to Allah. Now the Prophet ﷺ, on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, knowing all of this, he tells the people, right, we're going to Mina. We're leaving Mina. We're leaving for Mina. Now the Prophet ﷺ himself, he leaves for Mina, putting on ihram where he is, setting off for Mina, getting there to pray Dhuhr. He prays Dhuhr there. He stays there, prays Asr there. He prays Maghrib there. He prays Isha there. And he prays the next day's Fajr. Yawm Arafah Fajr in Mina. Giving up the greatest place on this earth, Mecca, to pray in this place called Mina. Now, logically, you wouldn't do that. But because Allah has ordered, be in Mina, this is the greatest place for the people making Hajj to be at that time. Greater for them than being in Mecca. The Hajj is all about, I hear and I obey Allah. It's nothing to do with my logic, nothing to do with what I want. It's to do with serving you, O Allah. So they start. They pray their Dhuhr, shortened. They pray 2 rak'ah. They pray 2 rak'ah for Asr. They pray the Maghrib, they pray the Isha, they pray Fajr the next day. Then the Prophet ﷺ ordered for a kind of stage type thing, a mound to be set up for him in in Arafah, just outside where Masjid Namira is now. Prophet ﷺ set off for Arafah. What time does he set off and get to Arafah?
Before Zuhr.
Yeah, before Dhuhr, gets there just before Dhuhr, and then the Prophet ﷺ prays the Dhuhr and the Asr combined. They're making the khutbah of the Hajj at that time. So everyone's watching and listening. So after the Prophet ﷺ at Namira has made the khutbah, he goes to the mount there, the Jabal, the mountain there, and his camel has its stomach towards the rocks. So the Prophet ﷺ stands there. Now I want you to imagine, the day is long. The days don't really change in Saudi, especially in those areas. Very little change in the whole year. So you pray Dhuhr. Dhuhr comes in around 12:15. Okay? Maghrib, you're looking around 5 o'clock. Okay? All those hours. The Prophet ﷺ, for that whole time, he didn't let his hands drop. Just imagine, he's got his riding animal there. The most he did was let one hand drop and grab the reins again and then lift his hand up. All of that time, the Prophet ﷺ has raised his hands and he's making dua. Nothing else the Prophet ﷺ did. When he drank, one hand would still be raised. The Prophet ﷺ continued in dua for the whole time until Maghrib. Then the Prophet ﷺ, after Maghrib's now finished, they don't pray. They set off and leave Arafah, heading to which place? Muzdalifah. So the Prophet ﷺ, he says to the people, take it easy. You know, at Maghrib time, if you've been Hajj, at Maghrib time what happens? Everyone's on a mission to get out and it's chaos again. The Prophet ﷺ, what did he say? He said, Ya ayyuhan nas as-sakina as-sakina. He said to them, oh people, take it easy, be calm. Prophet ﷺ actually pulled the reins of his animal so it couldn't race. It had to go slowly. This is what the Prophet ﷺ did. Nice and slow, gets to Muzdalifah. Prophet ﷺ, when he gets to Muzdalifah, what does he do in Muzdalifah? Maghrib and Isha combined, shortened, and he spends the night. There's no report that the Prophet ﷺ actually prayed any extra salawat or did anything special that night. It's just reported he rested. He rested in Muzdalifah, that's it. And if you think about it, the next day for the Hujjaj is very, very busy. Very busy. And in that time, remember, they're riding, they're walking, they've got a whole huge mass of people with them as well, which makes things longer, more time consuming. So the Prophet ﷺ rested. And I tell you, I've never had a better sleep in my life than I do at Muzdalifah. This is one of those things, I really enjoy my sleep at Muzdalifah. It's a time to rest. So the next morning they wake up. And there's the adhan, the iqamah, they pray Fajr, then the Prophet ﷺ doesn't leave. He stands at Mash'ar al-Haram, that space in Muzdalifah, heading towards Mina, making dhikr of Allah, until it's really bright. Then the Prophet ﷺ sets off. Where's the Prophet ﷺ heading to now?
Jamrat.
Yeah, the Jamarat. Which Jamarat?
Largest.
The large one, yeah? It used to be the large one. Now they're all the same size, yeah? It's easy. I tell you, what they've done now has made it so much easier. I remember the first year when I made Hajj, I did the stoning of the Jamrah. When I got out, there was a stampede and people died. I just got out and I saw this group come in. I knew something was happening at that time. And as soon as I got out of the area of the Jamrah, people died right at that moment. Only by the grace of Allah, I just missed it. If a few seconds this way or that way, I'd have been in that as well. So now, all of the pillars, they look the same. How many stones do you throw at the pillar? 7. Yeah, all of these things are 7. Now, remember, there was a stone that we kissed. Which stone? Right, there's a stone that we pray behind. Which stone? Maqam Ibrahim. There's stones that you throw. These stones, And there's a stone that you throw other stones at. These pillars. All stones. Why do we do it? Because Allah said do that. Don't ask why. We just do it. This is our life. This is the whole scenario of our life. Allah knows better than you. Allah says do this, you do it. You're the slave, He's the master. This is the slogan of Hajj. The slogan of the Muslim, قَالُوا سَمِعْنَا وَأَطَعْنَا. And then on top of this, we hear and we obey. غُفْرَانَكَ. Oh Allah, forgive us. وَإِلَيْكَ الْمَصِيرُ. Oh Allah, to you is the final return. Then the Prophet ﷺ does his stoning. The Prophet ﷺ then goes and he slaughters his sacrificial animals. 63 with his own hand. And then Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu completes the rest, making it 100. Then the Prophet ﷺ goes to his house, his tent, and one of the Sahaba, he cuts the Prophet ﷺ's hair. The right side first, then the left side. The Prophet ﷺ then gets changed into normal clothes. And then he perfumes himself as well. Then the Prophet ﷺ heads to Al-Kaaba. And he makes the tawaf, and he makes the sa'i. The Prophet ﷺ made the 2 rak'ah of Maqam Ibrahim after the tawaf. Then he made his sa'i. Then the Prophet ﷺ, he's done the major acts of the Hajj. Then the Prophet ﷺ stays in Mina. What does the Prophet ﷺ do after completing the acts in Makkah? He goes back to Mina. He goes back to Mina. Doesn't stay in Makkah. Goes back to Mina. He stays there for the rest of the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, the 13th, and then leaves. And he gives one final instruction to the Sahaba. What's the final instruction? You can leave on the 12th. That's not the final instruction. But yes, that's in the ayat, right? You can leave on the 12th. You can stay 2 days. You only need to stay 2 days. The 11th and the 12th. 12th, if you wanted to leave early, you can leave as long as you go before Maghrib. If you stay at Maghrib time, you have to stay for the whole day. Right? They've gone there, they've stayed. The Prophet ﷺ staying in Mina, not in Makkah. And he gives one final order. He says, no one should leave to go back to Medina until آخر أهده بالبيت. The last thing he must do is make tawaf of the house of Allah before he leaves. Not staying in Makkah, staying in Mina. Allah chose for the Hujjaj, in those days, the best place you can spend your time is not Makkah. The best place for you at that time is Mina. Completely different to all other times in the year. All other times in the year, if you were in that area, you would be in Makkah. Nowhere else. But at that time, Allah said, be here, and you're there. Allah says, don't be over there, you don't go over there. The slogan of the Hujjaj, Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik. Oh Allah, here I am at your service. Whatever you say, that's what I'm going to do. Nothing other than that. Allah summarizes this whole thing. The last 2 ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah, in which Allah had talked about Hajj, the ahkam of Hajj, the rulings of Hajj. Allah says, when the believers, their statement is this, قَالُوا سَمِعْنَا وَأَطَعْنَا. We hear and we obey. This is the meaning of Hajj. Oh Allah, I recognize I am the slave. I recognize you are the master. I submit to you whatever you say, I am prepared to do it. I'm not going to ask why. I understand that you, oh Allah, knows better for me than I know for myself. This is Islam. Complete submission to the will of Allah. This is the journey of Hajj. This is what the Prophet ﷺ was teaching the companions and teaching us at the same time. This was his journey. So the Prophet ﷺ, he makes the tawaf of the house of Allah, and he made exception. The women who are on their cycle at that time, they don't have to do it. They can leave with the rest, and that is dropped. The last tawaf for them, tawaf al-wida, the farewell tawaf is dropped for them. And then everyone leaves and goes back to where they came from. Now if you think, life, the journey of life, you came with nothing, you go back with very little, and really it's nothing. 2 sheets covering you, 3 sheets covering you, Hajj 2 sheets, 3 sheets when you're going to be buried. You don't take any possessions with you. But what you do take with you is like for the Hajj. You go back, the reward for an accepted Hajj is what? Nothing other than Jannah, as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned. Al-Hajj al-Mabrur, laysa lahu jaza'un illa al-Jannah. There's no reward for it apart from Jannah. May Allah reward us, even though we're not in Hajj. And when you think about Arafah specifically, which day is Arafah going to fall on for us? Saturday. They're going to be in Arafah on Saturday. Now, many of the scholars, they believe that Yawm Arafah was the greatest day of these 10. And because of that statement I mentioned right at the beginning, when we were talking about Arafah, that there's no day, as the Prophet ﷺ said, that Allah frees people and forgives people who should have gone to the hellfire, He frees them from the hellfire, then Yawm Arafah. Many of them used to gather either in their houses or in the masajid, especially closer to the Maghrib time, and make dua specifically on Arafah. Whether at home or in the masjid, and the masjid is the best place to make dua anyway. They used to do this on the day of Arafah, Saturday for us, preceding the day of Eid, because they wanted that forgiveness and to be freed from the hellfire. So there's another deed that the Prophet ﷺ advised us to do on the day of Arafah. What is it for us specifically? Fasting. Right. When you fast the day of Arafah, what do you get out of it?
Your sins are forgiven.
Good. 2 years worth of sins wiped away, cleansed for 2 years worth. The past year and the next year. So Saturday, definitely, if you can't fast any of the other days of Dhul Hijjah, because that's something recommended as well, try to fast at least the Saturday preceding the Sunday, which is Eid. طيب جزاكم الله خيرا. I'm going to finish there. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. If there's any questions, you can ask them now, or we'll call it